Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to the Team 3R Tour of Sicily races. As you already know, of course, we're on stage 4 tonight, which is a blinking great mountain. So I hope you brought your climbing legs. I did this in training a few weeks ago, and it's a tough one. There's not much let up once you actually start the climbing. So you have to pace yourselves, and it's a very good route actually. I think you'll enjoy it. Now I'm not riding tonight. I will obviously turn the pedals to keep me in the event. I've set an alarm to make sure I don't get kicked out. Okay. Okay, Mr. Davis, please respond. It's an easy question. Okay, as you can see, we look at what the bloody hell is going on here. Why? Oh, this is silly. Why has it kicked me out? Hey, we started the race. I don't understand why it kicked me out. Let's get to the front of the race. There we go. So Paul Padell is doing a flyer off the front. Let's find out who's behind him. That looks pretty exciting. There's no chance of staying away at this point. But they hit the hill soon enough. And then, as you can see, from all the red, it's going to be down to the climbers tonight. So there he is. So there's the group going past him. Let's join the lads at the front. Oystenson, my teammate. Poniatowski's always there and thereabouts. But welcome to all the newcomers tonight. I noticed with a few I've added you to my race database. So good to see you. And it's good to see thank you, Gary Davis, for not interfering with the race. I don't know whether you're still here or whether you've left or not. I'll check on the back of the race shortly. I want to just see who gets to the bottom of the climb first, and so I'm going to stick with the front group for the time being, because this is where the action is. And then once we get on the climb and we can relax a little bit, we'll look at what's happening further back. So apologies, back markers. I just want to stay where the action is for the time being. Because as you can see, this large group are going to split pretty dramatically once we hit the climb. I can assure you of that. This lot are not going to stay together. I wonder what kind of rider Poniatowski is. I don't know if he's a climber or not. If he's a climber, then they'll have the work cut out tonight, because he's very strong. So, but to be honest, I've got an idea of who are the front runners here in terms of past results, but we haven't yet done a mountain stage. So tonight's going to be interesting and give me a fuller picture of the riders. What I'm hoping is that we see a bit of a change around in the leaderboard, because I don't want the series to be over by halfway. I'd like it to spread out, and let's get to the front. I mean, we know Tim Cook is strong, but is he a climber? That's something I don't know, so I guess we're going to find out. I know Evan's a good climber, and he's at the front at the moment, pulling them along. Yeah, and he's just given me a wave, so perhaps he's listening to me. And obviously Paul is no slouch either. Paul Padell from OTR. So we could well have riders near to the top of the leaderboard actually contesting this tonight. I expect so. I think we'll see Padell up there at the finish, very close to the podium, if not on the podium. So, but the good thing about this climb is there's lots of time to make up. If you're just finding your legs at the start, and let's now that they're on the climb, let's work his way backwards. So we've got Oystenson in front, Padell following on, and then Moira. Librex is in fourth. Then you've got Luke Jeffries. So at this point, they're pretty much all together, as you can see. We're not going to see a split just yet, but I think it won't be long before we do. Once, in fact, there you are. You've actually seen the first of the splits, because Rainsbury is 46 metres behind, and the gap is growing from Noble, who's at the back of the pack. So already we've got 8 riders who have formed a gap at the front, and they're away. Now, there's no saying they'll stay away. We might well see Rainsbury, then we've got Little, and then we've got, I think it's Mike Wareham. Mr. Dingwall. I think he's a new rider tonight. I don't think he was. Is he a new rider? Yes, he's a new rider tonight. So this is his first ride of the series. So welcome, Mr. Dingwall. I'm surprised to see Poniatowski so far behind. So I just imagine that he's a bigger rider and not a climber, because I know he's strong, and I didn't expect to see him at the back here, but perhaps, as I say, he's one of the bigger riders. Sosa is another new rider tonight. Welcome, Mr. Sosa. Good to see Mr. Davis. Well done. Staying at the back. Well, I don't say staying at the back. You're obviously at the back, but that's very kind of you, sir. It's nice when new riders don't. If you are over the set watt kilos, you're not interrupting the race. So I thank you for that. But you're welcome to join the race if you are under 3.2 watt kilo. I have to say that as well. And then you've got Robert Canoyer. He's ploughing a lonely furrow right at the back, because I'm last man. Now, obviously, I have to get back on the bike in 20 odd minutes in order not to be thrown from the event. But let's get back to the front and check on what's happening. So, Oystenson and Pudell, Evan and Paul have now broken away from the 8-man group. Now the question is here, what's going to happen behind? Because these two dropped points last week to Tim Cook, who won the event. So it's going to be interesting to see whether they can claw back some of those points, and how well Tim Cook does in the final shake-up. So I think these two are going to fight it out for a little while here. Let's find a good view, and then let's page down and see if we can find the riders behind. So how many have we got in this group, in the following group? Let's swing around and see if we can count them. In fact, you can see there's not much in it, so this could well end up coming back together on the next plateau that you see. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've still got 8 out the front. I don't see Rainsbury catching them. He's now 67 metres behind. He could well close the gap, but I don't think at this point he will. But I do think that these two, these 6 here, could start to bridge across to the front. We'll have to wait and see. But let's carry on working his way back. There's Rainsbury, and Dingwall's joining him. Dingwall putting out red numbers to join him. It's always good to have somebody to chase. They're both new riders, actually. Dingwall and Rainsbury are new riders tonight. So let's see how they go. And obviously Chris Little is a regular, as is Poniatowski and Mike Wareham. And then these two are newcomers, Davis and Sosa. And then you've got Robert, looks like he's going to be riding on his own pretty much the rest of the night. These two are joining together now. Dingwell's, in fact, could well end up coming past. Let's have a look and see whether he rides with Rainsbury or whether he just goes on past. It looks like he's setting a reasonable pace here. Yeah. I mean, the obvious thing to do is for Rainsbury to try and get on his wheel and just follow him. That's probably the more sensible thing to do. So let's work his way forward and find out what's happening with the group. Okay, so there's 5 here. So as you can see, one of them is just trying to go off the front. And that could well end up being a move that brings the group back together. It's Maurer. Okay, so this could end up bringing the gap to the 2 front leaders down. You know, if you get one rider chasing and then the rest of the pack chasing him, that's going to. In fact, it is. It's bringing the gap down to the 2 up the front. So, although it's holding steady, well, yeah, it's coming down slowly. So he's putting in a good effort here, is Maurer. And there you've got those 2 leaders, basically pacing each other up the climb. I don't see these 2 staying away at this early point in the race. Oh, what happened to Paul there? I can't explain what happened with me. I only just got back in. The software kicked me out. My phone app just completely crashed. With seconds to go, I think 8 seconds. By the time I got back in, I had 8 seconds before the event started. So I was pretty lucky that didn't happen when the event was just about to start, or had started, should I say. So I'm hoping we don't have any more glitches and it remains stable. Oh, there you go. I said Mario was catching them, and there he is. Now the question is he bringing? Let's go back down, because he'll probably go past now. Has Moira ridden before? Let me just check let's find out where he's at. What I'm doing, folks, is I'm keeping a record of all riders and their maximum watt kilos, just so that we can keep a good check on riders that should be in the race. Yeah, he's a strong rider, 3.11. So he's not far off the limit, and he's showing it here. So that's good riding, Moira. Well done, mate. But he's got his work cut out with these 2, because these 2 are 2 canny riders, Paul and Evan. So they're going to make him work for it, that's for sure. But they are pulling out a gap. I'm surprised, actually, that Tim Cook and the rest of the group didn't try to close up. Really surprised. So let's go and find out what's happening with them, because they're over 100 metres behind now. And that kind of gap, if it grows much more, they're not going to close it. So they really need to start working on this gap. Because my feeling is if we get to, you can see they're coming up to another short red section, but if the three leaders get to that big red section that you can see in a few kilometers time, in about 2 or 3 kilometers time, if they get onto that climb with a 100-meter gap, they're not going to get caught. And just as I'm saying that, the chasing group are putting in a chase and are catching. So yeah, the gap's coming down. So my tactics are you might sometimes wonder if Derek knows what he's talking about, but trust me, more often than not I get it right, and it looks like the riders have realised if they let this gap grow at this point, if this 5-man group let the gap grow, by the time they get to the next big climb, it's all over. The 3 leaders are going to be gone and they'll not be seen again. So they have to close this gap down. They have to get it down to something manageable. And I would say on this next green plateau section and then the slight lessening in percentage, they need to catch up during this next section. And I think they realise that. They'll be watching the bottom of the screens the same as I am. They'll be watching the profile. And I think they'll know they have to close the gap. Now Moira is really putting in a good effort here. He's not hanging about. So let's go back to the front and just check what's happening with them. There he is. But the front 2 are pushing on as well. So you can see Evan and Paul are pushing, well, whoever's in front, whichever one of them is in front, is having to push over 3 watt kilos to maintain the gap. And they're bringing it out again. This is going to be an interesting battle. It really is. This is going to be very, very interesting. Because you've even got the group behind now split. So you've got 3 riders, and what I am surprised to see here, oh, here he comes. I was just about to say I'm surprised that Tim Cook's let them go, but he hasn't. He's pulling back the gap. Now it may be that he's no choice when they decide to take off later on if Tim's not a climber, but he looks like an all-round type of rider, does Tim, so I wouldn't expect him to let them go that easily. But who knows what's going to happen. So these 5 are back together, but they're losing ground. What they mustn't do is fight amongst themselves. What they've got to do is work through and off and start pulling the gap to the guys in front. We'll come back to them in a second. Let's just, for fairness, let's go and have a look and see what's happening further down the road. So let's who have we got? We got Dingwall is currently in no man's land. See if we can zoom. There we go. Let's zoom in a bit and see if we can get through the trees. It's a difficult course tonight to get through the trees. So Dingwall is in no man's land, as I say. He's 200 and odd metres behind the 5-man group in front of him, and is 175 metres in front. Sorry, behind the group in front of him, and he's in 170 metres in front of Little, who's following on behind him. There's Mr. Little. So I think these riders here, even at this early stage, are fighting for the top 10 minor places. There's a good opportunity that Poniatowski can get into the top 10 if he continues to push on. But he's going to have to work at it. And then Davis and Rainsbury, they're still together. The 2 newcomers. It's nice to see. Mr. Wareham's just about to join them. So they may well ride together for a section. Certainly over this green and orange section they can. Sosa bringing up the rear. Well, not quite the rear. Lantern Rouge is obviously Roberto. Sorry. And I need to jump on the bike, so I'll do that now. There I am. Let's just jump on the bike. Make sure I stay in the event. There we go. So you can see I'm moving off. And that's enough. And then we'll get back to the front and see what's happening at the front. Okay, so we've still got these. Has Paul joined them? Sorry. Oh no, these are the original three. My apologies. Getting ahead of myself. So no change to the front then, other than the fact that they've pulled out another 40 meters lead. Now, I'll be honest, if they hit the bottom of that climb and it remains like this, they're not going to get caught. It's between these three. Although Tim Cook is putting in a decent effort here. Unless he's got something in his legs he's not previously shown, he's not going to close this up. So we'll see. He is actually bringing the distance down. Now the question is, can the men behind him? So let's go and have a look and see what's happening. There's Tim Cook. He's broken away from the chasing group, as you can see, by 24 meters. They need to get on his wheel. They need to reel him in and not just let him go. Okay, so there they are, and you can see they're not that far behind, and they've got him in sight. I don't think they'll let him go. I think they'll reel him in. Certainly Luke will anyway. Luke's not going to let him go. Luke's just drafting at the moment. Clever rider, smart rider. So my guess is that these riders will pull in Tim Cook. The question is, can they close up that gap on those leading three? I don't think they will, you know. But we'll see. It's early days yet. The leaders, the reason why the gap's coming down now is because the leaders are on the climb. So obviously the gap is going to come down, but that gives you a false sense of, yes, I'm pulling the gap back. Because what you've got to realise is they're already on the climb and these chasers have got to get on it. So the gap is going to go out once these chasers hit the climb. I'm pretty convinced of that. It's coming down now because they're on the flat while, you know, the three leaders are on the climb. And in fact, it looks like we've got action at we have. So you can see that Moira, as I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, sir. Moira is well, they're trying to drop him, but he's not having any of it. He's staying within reach. I said this would be a good race, folks, and it is. I think there's going to be backwards and forwards here. Because I don't think Moira's going to let this go. I just don't. He's too strong a rider. He's up then almost at the limit, is Moira. So he's not going to let them go, I don't think. Could be wrong. Let's have a look. What's Fernando. So I'll call him by his first name in case I'm pronouncing his last name. So Fernando is catching up with Evan and Pudell. At least I hope he is. So let's find out what's going on further back. Oh, wow. Mr. Noble has tried to bridge the gap. And he's doing a good job of it. Look at what kilos he's putting in. Yeah, he's another strong rider. Another strong rider. So, yeah, I'd expect this. And here come the chasers. So who's behind him? Tim Cook and Gary Birch. Okay. So Gary Birch obviously is another one of my teammates, but I don't know why he's not wearing our shirt. He's got the 3R logo. In fact, I'm going to check on him. Let's find out. Let's zoom in and see whose shirt's he wearing. No, he's just wearing a generic one. So why, Gary? Come on, you're a teammate. Why aren't you wearing the Team 3R race jersey? Oh well. Right. Anyway, let's find out what's happened to the guys behind you. There's Luke. I'm surprised that Luke has not stayed with them actually. But and it's Ivo Libex. I'm not so sure they're going to catch up with Gary Birch and Tim Cook, so they've got the work cut out, that's for sure. And then you've got Dingwall, and he's not going to catch up anytime soon either. Chris Little is still a little bit in no man's land, although you can see that Gary Davis is making an effort behind him, looking at the difference in what kilo. So Gary Davis may well come and join Mr. Little. There he is. And Mr. Wareham. I don't know his first name, Rainsbury. Oh. What I do is I pull the results from the RGT DB results board, and that gives me riders' first names, and then I stick them in my spreadsheet, obviously, because I have to produce all the results. And so I end up collecting riders' names so that I can actually occasionally use their first names. And there's our Lantern Rouge. Okay, let's get back to the front. Now, what's happened? Oh, wow. So we've had a change in the lead, folks. We've got these two obviously have stayed clear. And if I'm honest, I think they may well end up keeping this to the finish. I think it's Steve Noble. I'll just check on that. Is it Steve Noble? Yeah, it's Steve. So Steve Noble is the chaser. Let's just find him. There he is on the road. Now he's left Fernando behind. So Steve Noble has left Fernando behind. Although I tend to think Fernando may well come back to him. But I think the front two are gone. Can't see them being caught now. I know it's only 150 meters, but the strong riders, 150 at this point. What are we? We're 12 kilometers in, so we're over a third of the distance in. Yeah, I tend to think they're going to stay away, but we'll see. So Fernando is chasing Noble. but he's going to have to pull his socks up because even Steve Noble is pulling out a gap now. Tim Cook is catching Fernando. So perhaps Mr. Moira's not feeling as strong tonight, or he's not a true climber. Oh, excuse me. So Tim Cook looks strong, but he always looks strong. So he's closing up, and he may well have the strength to pull back in Steve Noble. So he'll be looking for a top 3 podium spot. And I think I think he's got enough of a lead in the table. If he gets top 3 tonight, then I think he'll remain in first place. I can't remember the standings, but I know he's got a good lead. But anything can happen, folks. You know, you could have a virtual puncture, which is basically a dropout. And if you have a puncture, you're stuffed. Your race is not over, but you're going to find it hard to get back. I hope nobody does. I hope nobody does puncture tonight, but it has happened. It's happened in the past in these races. So let's hope it doesn't happen tonight. But these two, I don't know. You know, I'm saying they're gone. But Mr. Noble is making a real fight of it. I'm impressed. Yeah, he is. Now, who's your money on here, folks? Who would you pick out of these two? Well, I'm not going to tell you now, but I know who I've. Obviously, I like my teammate too, and Paul is a known rider to me as well. But I'm not going to call the winner until a bit later on into the race. Although I have a feeling I could call it now and still be right. No pie shops in this climb. Okay, let's go and find out what's happening to him. So we got Chris Little saying no pie shops on this climb. He's too fat. Oh, he's a star. I love it when riders can take the piss out of themselves because it means they don't take it that seriously and they're having fun. And that's really what racing to me is all about. Yes, obviously everybody wants to win now and again, but it's all about having that fun. And Chris is a strong rider on the flat. I can understand. I mean, he left me for dead on one of our rides, but yeah, I can understand why he's saying he's struggling on the climbs. That explains why you leave me for dead, Mr. Little. I'm actually looking forward to getting some racing done myself because I put this one on, and to be fair, I can't really do the race series justice if I'm trying to ride them and commentate. It's just impossible to do. And I enjoy commentating so much. Plus, I also want to make sure the racing's fair, folks. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not racing myself. Because the way for me to keep the racing fair is to keep a close eye on what's happening on the road. And if I spot anything, that's not legit, then obviously I can do something about it. Not immediately. I mean, I could ask, if there was a rider in this race that I thought shouldn't be here, I could ask him to leave like I did in previous weeks. But tonight's event was a test event for RGT, and they've actually eliminated Jorg Nov from this event. He entered it and he was eliminated. Now, I've no idea of knowing whether that is something which they can roll out or not. But all I know is that he was down to ride this event. His watt kilos was 5.44, so he didn't belong in this event, and he's won every single race he's taken part in. So to my mind, he's not a legitimate rider. And so I alerted RGT and they removed him. I don't know how they removed him. Perhaps we'll get to find out from RGT, but they were able to remove him. And that's why, Gary, I asked you really to ride at the back, sir, because I don't, with you not knowing your watt kilos, if you were to go over, I'd hate to see you penalised. So I asked you to ride at the back because you couldn't give me your watt kilos and we don't know what you are. It turns out you could have ridden this as a genuine race. I'm pretty sure of that, looking at your figures. But in fact, there you are, sir. So my apologies, Gary. I hope you forgive me. You're welcome to, if your figures are below 3.2, you're welcome to ride any of the other races in the series. But if you've scored above 3.2 in any of your previous rides, then obviously this race series is not for you, because I'm pretty tough. I check every rider once I get them. Once I get a result, I can check your previous results. So that's how I check on the riders, and that's why I keep them in my spreadsheets, because I have to produce a spreadsheet to give people their finishing positions and to keep the league up to date. And while I'm doing that, I'm writing in riders' maximum watt kilos from their previous races. So I know riders that should be allowed in these races, and I know riders that shouldn't be allowed in these races. And I'm pretty tough. I'm not prepared to let riders that don't belong take part in these races, because we're doing really well at the moment. We've got a great core of riders, and we've got more turning up each week. So the series is growing in popularity. I mean, I think we had 4 newcomers this week. Let me just check for you. Let me call them out. Yeah, we had 4. We had Mr. Dingwall, Mr. Davis, Mr. Rainsbury, and Mr. Sosa. So they were the 4 newcomers this week. So the number of attendees to the series is growing week in, week out. And it's good to see. Okay, let's get back to the front and what's happening. And Steve Noble has actually pulled back more distance on the 2 leaders. So I think, in fact, let's see if we can get a view on the road. There we are, we've got him. So there you can see Mr. Noble in real time actually pulling these guys back. You can't see him at the moment because of the trees, although I might, there we go. Yes, you can see them all 3 on the road now. So although he's in the background, Let's go and check on him. There he is. But Tim Cook is falling behind Mr. Noble, so could we see Tim falling back to the group behind? I don't know. I think we'll see more from Tim later in the ride. But if I'm really honest, Tim, and you won't mind me saying this, I know because we have spoken, I hope the other riders give you a run for your money, sir. I hope you don't end up dominating the event too much. You're a very good rider, but I want to see a contest, and I think we'll get one. So he's obviously listening to me because look, he's putting in an effort as I'm talking to him. He's a likeable fellow. And there's Fernando. I don't know what the minus 70 is, but if that's his age, then this is phenomenal. I hope I'm going as well as Fernando when I'm 70 years old. Jeez. I don't know if that's what it means, but if it is, then yeah. And there's my teammate, Mr. Birch. Catching up to him. In fact, yes, he's pulling him in. There's Ivo and Luke. So they'll probably stay together for a little while. There's Mr. Davis. Chris Little. Mike Wareham. This is the biggest surprise to me. He must be a heavyweight because he's much stronger than a 12th place rider. So he must be a non-climb, or when I say a non-climber, he must be the weight that's holding him back, which explains why he's so strong on the rolling and flats. Because this surprises me to see Poniatowski so far behind. That's quite a surprise. I don't know anything about Mr. Sosa, but welcome, sir. It's nice to see you riding. And Mr. Ainsbury, now what happened to our Lantern Rouge? Roberto, has he must have left the event, and that's a shame. I don't like to see anybody leaving the event. Never mind. Okay, so but this is the really exciting battle. The battle up the front, because they're pulling out a little bit more of a gap on Steve, but then he closes it up again, and then they pull it out again. The question, you can just see him in the distance there. The question is, what's going to happen here? Are they going to? I mean, we've got quite a. You can see I'm pointing with the mouse. This green section here is flat. It's a plateau, and it's the flattest part of the climb, and gives the stronger riders the opportunity to close a gap if they're not too far behind. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Now, I told you it was a tough climb, folks. We're 40. In fact, I'd better climb on the bike. We're 44 minutes in. Just let me just turn the pedals. I'll get back to you in a minute, sir. I'll answer your question in a second. Just let me turn the pedals. There we go. Okay, I really must pay more attention to the chat, but I get so engrossed in my. Okay. Um, okay, so they're now on the, as you can see, on the downhill section, and this is the only downhill section on the ride now. So make the most of it, folks, because that's the best downhill that you're going to get. You don't get any more. You get a little bit of flat and maybe an easing, but you certainly don't get any more anything like this. So you have to make the most of it, folks. Right, let's catch up with what's going on behind. Now you can see that they're pulling out a big gap, but take no mind of that because they were obviously on the downhill and the chasing riders have yet to reach that same downhill as these riders hit the climb. So the gap will come down very, very quickly. And it'll be interesting to see what the gap is when they're all on the orange section in a couple of kilometers. Okay, let's see if we can't find out what's going on behind. So there's Mr. Noble. Let's just change the view slightly so we can look up the road. Yeah, there we go. So there's Mr. Noble. That's Mr. Cook on the downhill. Now he will storm down the downhill because, as I say, he's more of a roller, is Mr. Cook. So he's going to do well on the downhill and flatter sections. Gary's looking good and strong, as is Mauro Fernando. These two are still staying together, Luke and Ivo. But they're on the steep climb, as you can see. Well, steeper climb. I don't know what this one goes up to. I can't remember. 6.4 at the moment, but I think it does get a bit steeper. I know the last climb is horrendous. And it hurts because, you're more than an hour and 30 minutes into the ride. There's Chris. Yeah, he's having a bad day, is the lad. Rainsbury bringing up the rear. It's a lonely road at the back, sir. Been there, done that. But keep it going, because you're all scoring points, every single one of you. So we've had a few leave now. We've had a couple of riders leaving. Obviously, Gary Davis has left. I hope he didn't take offence, because no offence was meant to him. When I ask a rider what kilos is and he doesn't know, he can't tell me, then obviously I err on the side of caution. Because we've had in previous races, folks, we've had them spoilt by riders pulling the front along. If you remember the Spanish guys we had along, I think we had a team of 4. 3 of them were Spanish, and one was another nationality, and they pulled the front group along at something like 5 kilos, and totally destroyed the race, totally spoilt the race. And I think that week, I disqualified the top 6 riders. So it's no fun when that happens. Yeah, just to 3.17. Yeah, I just to explain to folks, I've just written in the text that my watt kilos is 3.17 at the moment. But I very seldom see myself getting too close to that. I can sometimes get near there or thereabouts, but I'm not going to get regularly close to that because I suffer from breathing problems when I go too hard, and that's because I only have one lung, and I'm not making excuses. I've learned to cope, and I think that one lung is like a bloody balloon. It's huge these days. I lost the other one to cancer many years ago, and I learned to try and compensate. But it does, when I spend too long above a certain effort, I just can't breathe. I literally, I mean, if you watch some of my videos back and you watch me where I'm puffing like a train, I really am struggling to breathe. And that's because I just can't get enough oxygen in. So now, okay, while I'm chatting, you can see that Paul Pudell is trying to make a break on the flat section. I don't think Evan will let him. I don't think Evan is going to let this gap go. I think he'll pull him back in. I mean, so we're going to stay with this for the moment, folks, and then we'll check out what's happening later behind. But I think Evan is going to pull him back here. I certainly hope so. But yeah, so my issues is with breathing, and I've always said it's not down to my legs because I know, I mean, I can stand out of the saddle literally for hours if I wanted to. I've got very strong lower legs. And I can climb well, but I just can't breathe. I just can't get the oxygen in. So that limits me into how hard I can push. Yeah, I know what you're saying, Chris, because I have good days and I have bad days. My kind of events, it's strange because I did a time trial and I actually scored above my normal FTP, but because it was a one-off, I discounted it. Because I think it was a 10-mile time trial, and to be honest, I can hold myself together for like 25, 29 minutes, pushing a huge gear. I push a absolutely phenomenally big gear. I'm revving at about 50 revs cadence, which is ridiculous, really. I should be up 80 or 90. But because I'm pushing such a big gear, and I can keep turning that gear for about 30 minutes. So but that doesn't do me any good in a race. If I tried to do that in a race, by the end of it, I'm exhausted, and I would lose all the time I'd made. So I don't push myself that hard in races. But for a 10-mile time trial, I think yeah, I can. I'm prepared to sort of like kill myself, whereas I wouldn't be in a race. I wouldn't push myself that hard for 30 minutes in a race because I wouldn't be able to complete the rest of the race. So it's horses for courses. I always say I'm a climber because I like to push on the climbs, but then I'm held back on the climbs by my breathing. So yeah, it's It's a tricky one, but I'm getting fitter. I suffered from a really bad bout of flu, which knocked me sideways, and on top of that, I had my COVID jab, and that knocked me even further sideways. So yeah, I'm coming back from what I considered to be being taken down a couple of notches, and I think I'm back to where I was. I hope I am. But the most important thing is to enjoy it. I'm really enjoying my riding when I get there. I wish I could ride tonight, but I just couldn't. I just wouldn't be able to. Let's find out what's happening with Paul. He's pulling out a huge gap here. So I think he's going for the win. Now, remember I said earlier I could call the winner. And I'm not saying this because Paul has jumped off the front. But between Evan and Paul, I know he's the stronger of the two riders. I just know that when it comes to climbing. So yeah, I would have, even though Evan's my teammate, I don't see him pulling back this gap. I think Paul's away now, and this is the winning move. So I mean, they have got the toughest part of the climb to come, and there's every chance that the gaps can be closed. But I don't think so. Paul, I think, is the stronger climber of the two. And I'd love to see Evan prove me wrong. Wouldn't I just? Eat humble pie. But it's not going to happen, folks. This is a strong ride from Tim Cook. He's maintaining his fourth place on the road. He's a full kilometre in front of Gary Birch, so his fourth place is secure now at this point in the ride. The question is, can he catch Steve Noble and make it a third place podium spot? He definitely won't catch Evan or Paul, but he could well end up on the podium, and that's going to cement his place at the top of the leaderboard. So we'll keep an eye on this one, folks. Let's go a bit further down and see what's happening. There's Gary. And he's still looking, still putting out good numbers. There's Fernando. Very good ride also. These two have stayed together for quite a long period of time, Ivo and Luke. So that's pretty clever riding. They realise that they're not going to be contesting the front of the race, so they've decided it's between the two of them when it comes. And let's see if they're together at the end. I hope they are. And it's nice to see Chris just pushing. Look, he's putting out 3 watt kilos and above. So he's not giving up, he's still pushing, which is good to see. And this is Mike, who's complaining that he's far too heavy. But he's sticking in there, and that, again, that's great to see. Thank you, Mike. Poniatowski is the big surprise for me tonight. Really big surprise. I'm not. What's the word? Hope I'm not killing the point, but yeah, I reckon he's a roller. He's one of the big boys, which is why he's so strong on the rolling courses and the flatter courses, and he's paying for it. And that was the whole point of putting in. I put in the hilly courses, I put in the rollers, I put in the flat, and then I put in these 2 mountain courses. And we've got the toughest mountain course still to come. I mean, we're nowhere near finished yet with the climbing. So I am really hoping that it does shake up the leaderboard. There I am. And in fact, while I'm on myself, let's jump back on the bike. Make sure we turn the pedals. There we go. Okay. We got movement there. There I am back again. And back to the front. And Evan is closed up slightly. Let's have a look and see. Can we see them on? Yeah, you can see him on the road. Could I be eating that humble pie, I wonder? I don't think so. I think I'm still going to go for Paul Pudell as the race winner. I just think he'll prove too strong once we get to that last climb. But we shall see. It'd be exciting if we have a closer finish. So that's the first and second taken care of, possibly, because I don't see Steve's not going to pull back 460 odd meters. I think even he will acknowledge that. So I think he's fighting for third place here, with Tim chasing him. And that's really the battle now. I mean, first and second, yes, that's a battle, but the next battle is third and fourth. And in fact, Tim looks like he's closing in on Steve Noble. It's amazing, how when I highlight a rider, and you can see from his heart rate, so he is putting in. I mean, this is a genuine effort, folks, because normally I look at Tim and I think he's not even working, but he's got quite a high heart rate here, so he is putting in a big effort here. So a good man, Tim. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why I ask the riders, the ones that are in contention. Like if you look at Steve's wearing a heart rate monitor. Evan, don't know why he's not. I'd like him to. And Paul isn't either. But because they're known riders, I mean, these riders are known to us, but I still like them to wear heart rate monitors, I have to say. But because they're known riders, there's grace there from me. But to be honest, if they were riders that were unknown to me, then I could well have an issue with it. Because I think a heart rate monitor keeps you honest. You can clearly see Gary's working here. And you can see Luke's working hard. 173 heart rate. But you get a feel for riders. I mean, I've ridden a lot with Luke, and I know what he's good at and what his forte is. So yeah, I have a lot of respect for him. And you can see there's not that much difference between Ivo and Luke, and that's borne out, look, by if you look at the heart rates between them. So they're probably very similar riders in stature. I mean, the only thing I don't know, obviously, is riders' weights. Because if I knew riders' weights, then it would give me an even more overall picture of just how fit they are and what the heart rates possibly should be. Because when I was in my racing prime, I could see over 200 maximum heart rate. 209, I think, was my the highest I ever saw while racing. This is in real life. I've never seen those kind of figures on a virtual trainer. But I was much, much younger then. And as I've grown older, my maximum heart rate has come down drastically. And I think it's currently about 181 is my maximum. But I never see that. My breathing gives out before my maximum heart rate gives out. I run out of oxygen. I can't. So I daren't try to get close to my maximum heart rate, and haven't done so for quite a few years now. When I say daren't, it's just I don't want to get to the point where I'm falling over because I can't breathe. So I don't tend to push that hard anymore. So you can see that Evan is going to make me eat humble pie. I'm still calling Paul for the win. Okay, Evan, I'm sorry. Prove me wrong, and I will eat a piece of pie for you. Okay? I'd love you to prove me wrong, because obviously I want 3R to win, but I just feel Paul's stronger on the steeper hills. We'll see. So those two are back together. Steve is not closing the gap. He's holding it around about steady, but he's not actually closing up the gap. So, yeah, I think Steve's going for a third place. And Tim is trying valiantly to close that gap, but it's actually gone out a little bit further to Steve Noble. So, is he going to be able to pull it back in the final throws? I don't know. We'll see. Gary is certainly not going to pull back Tim, and he won't mind me saying that. That's too much to ask. 1 kilometre almost is just too much to ask at this point in the race. 6 kilometres remaining. So, in fact, I didn't check. What have the leaders got? 4.3. So, not that much. But 2/3 of that is uphill, folks. So they're coming to the next hill now. They're just about on the lower slopes of the next hill, but then they hit the real monster at the end, and it is a brute. I remember it from when I did it. So it's definitely going to sort them two out. And yes, they're pulling out a gap on Steve as the excuse me, as they get nearer the finish. So has Tim got him in sight? Yes, he has. So on the straight road, he's got him in sight. So that's always a help. You can see the rider in front of you. He's really putting in a dig here. But let's go back to the front because I've just seen red numbers. So Evan's trying to drop Paul. That's why we're seeing the red numbers. This is a good move from Evan. But yeah, there you go. Look how easy Paul was able to claim back the wheel there. And Evan's going to have it. Let's just check on the cadences. So we've got Evan is running a cadence of 70. And Paul's running 70, 80. Give it changing. it'll be interesting. What we'll do is we'll wait until they're both on the steeper section, then we'll have another look at the cadence and see, because they'll be in the saddle on the steeper section. Now the reason why the cadences are changing so much, folks. Sorry, let's go back to them. The reason why the cadences are changing is because they're in and out of the saddle, because the ground isn't steep enough. Once they get onto the really steeper ground, they won't be out of the saddle as much. They'll be spending a lot of the time actually sat in the saddle grinding away, because that climb's too long to spend trying to get out of the saddle and climb it. .2 kilometers to go though, so it's getting interesting. And Steve's, so being caught by Tim. Oh, can't stop yawning. Apologies, folks. Right. Yeah, I think these two are going to come. So we've got two battles here. Like I said earlier, we've got the battle for first and second, and we got the battle for third and fourth. Now, I've called the battle for first and second. I could well be wrong on that one. But what about this battle? Well, I'm going to wait for till Tim catches him, and then I'll tell you who I'm going for. Play it safe. I still maintain Paul's going to take this, but we'll see. Evan's going to give him a run for his money, that is for sure. And I wouldn't expect anything else. Great racing. You have to admit, folks, this is enjoyable. As a commentator, I'm thoroughly enjoying this. It's good fun. Let's see if we can just zoom out a little bit so that we can get them both on the board. There we go. This is Paul making another. Remember, he made a move earlier, and I didn't think Evan was going to get back to him, and Evan did. So anything can happen. Anything can happen. But this is a move. This is Paul putting in a winning move here, I feel. 2.4 kilometers to go. Okay, let's quickly check on the battle for third and fourth. And there you go. 20 meters, 19 meters. So these two, I think, are going to be similar to the front two. I think it's going to be a real ding-dong battle between the two of them. I think Tim may well catch Steve Noble, but of the two of them, I think Steve Noble will come in third place. I think he'll get the better of Tim. So could I get both predictions wrong? Let's have a look. No, I think I'm on a safe bet with Paul for the win. I really do now. I think he's pulling out a gap. He's about to approach the steeper part of the climb, and I just think he's going to be stronger than Evan on the big steeper climb. I mean, they're on the lower slopes now, and it's 5.2. It cranks up something shocking. It eases a little bit before the final summit, but then it kicks up again. It's a brutal climb. Look, we're at 10% already, 11. And it gets even steeper, believe me. So this is a tough climb, folks. And what's going to be interesting is I'll actually look back and see what my time was for finishing this ride, and then I'll compare it to the other riders taking part in this ride and see where I would potentially have finished. because although I was only training, I was going pretty hard on it. Not full gas, but pretty hard. So yeah, Paul's pulled out a 100-meter gap now, so he's gone. He's away. Winning move. There's Evan. And I did say Tim would catch Steve, but I think Steve will hold him. Let's see Tim prove me wrong. But I don't think so. I think Steve Noble will win this battle. And then we've got Gary. He's a further kilometre behind. So he's going to maintain his 5th place. I think Fernando will keep his 6th place. Now this one. Wow, I didn't expect Chris to catch Luke, and he has done. So this is going to be an interesting battle for 7th and 8th. Good one. Keep it going, Luke. Come on. Let's have another good battle here. Chris is way too strong for me, but you should be able to hold him. You should be able to hold him. I'm surprised Ivo got dropped, to be honest. He was looking good as well. And then Mike's bringing up the rear. But still putting out good wattage, so I'm surprised he's dropped that far back. Right, back to the front. And Evan is actually clawing back Paul. Paul needs to put in another dig here. I don't know how heavy he is, Chris, but I know he's much stronger than I am. But I don't know about longer rides. That's the only thing with Luke. We've done fairly long rides, and he looks pretty impressive, pretty strong. Wow, look at Evan go. I'm going to stay with the front, folks, because this is where Luke says heavy. Oh, dear. I love the banter. It's great fun. So there's the kite, folks. That's the 1 kilometre to go. Now the question is, Evan is putting in a really big effort here. Can Paul hold him off? And it gets steeper. Look, they're at 13%, and that's not the top. It gets even steeper. So, wow. This is... Oh, watch I could stop yawning. Need more sleep. Yep. Paul is just pulling it out slightly. So he's putting in the effort when he needs to. Can he keep it going though, or can Evan just close that 40 odd meters? Wow. I mean, fantastic ride from both of these two riders. They've given it everything. Just look. I mean, look at Evan now. He's really, really killing himself. Really putting in a dig here. 3.4. Constant. And there's a really good battle going on for 3rd and 4th place, folks. But I'm not gonna shy away from this one. I want to see. I mean, obviously, as quickly as I possibly can, we'll switch. There we go. We'll get this one on the road. We'll switch to... I'm going to switch around so that we can see the finishing banner as soon as he gets to around the 300-metre mark. Because it doesn't look like Evan is going to be able to close this gap. 40 metres at the moment, 42. but it's, you know, I said it was cruel. This finishing stretch is really, really cruel. There's no let up, and in fact, it kicks up in the last few hundred meters. It's horrible. About the worst possible finish for a mountaintop you could imagine. I mean, it does level off a little bit, but not until you're almost at the last gasp. And Evan is really, really trying here. 3.6. Paul's putting in a dig now, 4.2, because he realises that Evan's closing on him. Wow, this is super. This is fantastic. Let's get them both on the road again. I don't think he's going to be caught. No, he's pulling it out slightly now. As it's eased, look. Paul's pulling it out as it's eased, but it kicks up again. So I'm going to switch it around, folks, so that we can see Paul coming to the banner. There we go. So we've got him on the road. If Evan starts to close the gap, we'll get it on the road. But it doesn't look like it. It's holding. Paul's managing to hold it at 60 meters, give or take 3 or 4 meters at the moment. So I think he's got this. 300 meters to go. Yeah, 60 meters. There's a right ding-dong battle going on for third and fourth, but I just want to stay with Paul. I don't cover him all this way and then suddenly leave him to not go under the banner. So we'll get Paul going under the banner. And hope we can switch in time to catch third and fourth battle. Let's just make sure we get sight of the finish. You see what I said about it kicking up? Look at this. I mean, this is really cool. It kicks to over, there you go, 11%, look. This is the kicker I told you about right at the end. And it's just insane. There you go. And there's the banner, right at the end. So there's Paul taking the win. Fantastic, mate. Well done. There's Paul. Here's Evan. But what a ding-dong battle going on behind Evan. I'm going to switch in a second, folks, but oh, he's too close to call. Third and fourth. Look at this. Let's get them on the road. Wow. I mean, I'll call the result in a minute, folks, but this is just as exciting as first and second. Look at this. And I think Tim could well end up proving me wrong here. But I'm hoping Steve has just got that kick to go past him. But we'll see. Come on, guys. Give us a sprint finish. Wow. I mean, could this be any closer? 7 meters between them and closing. There's Steve. There he goes. There he goes. So Tim's out of the saddle pushing it. Now, can he open the gap or is no, Steve's still closing him down. I reckon he's got this, you know. I reckon I'm right. Can I get 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the correct order? Have I called it or is Tim going to take him at the last? I think the fact that it kicks up will give Steve Noble the edge. I mean, Tim doesn't know what's coming. I do. That 11% section. Go on, guys. Who's your money on? Oh. This is fantastic racing. Thank you so much, guys. Just while I'm just going to turn the pedal to make sure I don't get kicked out. There we go. I would hate to get kicked out at this point. So we'll switch around the view on the road, try and stay steady. There we go, there's the hill. That's the hill, that's the corner. Okay. So this is where I expect Steve Noble to attack if he's got anything left. If there's anything left, this is the only place where he can attack. Yeah, he's done it. Yes. Wow, way! So I called first, second, third and fourth, folks. There's Mr. Noble. Fantastic racing. Fantastic racing. Well done. Superb racing. Oh, well done, guys. Okay. So there's Gary. Yeah, really, really good. So, is Luke going to be able to catch Chris? That's the next question. Let's just, seeing as Gary's coming into the finish, we'll get Gary into the finish and then we'll tab back and have a look at the battle behind. I think Chris has probably dropped Luke, looking at the figures on screen. I should have checked before Gary got this close to the finish, but anyway, we'll watch him in. Good ride, Gary. So that's 2 3R riders in the top 5. But to be honest, there aren't enough riders from different teams taking part. There's OTR, there's 3R, and to be honest, 3R are winning it by a street mile. So there really is no team contest because 3R are so far in front. That I think even if OTR turned up en masse, they couldn't overtake us. So the team competition hasn't really happened. It's more about what's going to happen with the individual. So this is Gary coming into the finish. Well done, lad. and then we're going to tab down and see what's happening with the riders behind. So let's catch. There's Fernando. He's got 600 meters to go. A further 760 meters to go is Chris. And then 800. Okay, so Luke's dropped back. Obviously suffering on this big climb. I've never seen Luke, I don't think, do a big climb like this before, or have I? We've done the... Did you finish off when we did Mont Ventoux, Luke? I can't remember. I can't remember whether you finished it off or not. I'll have to go back and have a look. I've got all the videos on my YouTube channel, folks, if you want to check them out, all the climbing videos and this. But I can't remember with Luke. I'd need to go back and have a look. So... right, let's get back to the front. And Mr. Maurer. We don't want to miss him coming into the finish, do we? I mean, this is a really... I can't emphasize enough, folks, how... You know, these riders, an hour and 30 odd minutes, and they're contending with like 9, 10 and 11% right at the very end. I mean, that's really cool. And this is the easier of the two mountain stages. The next mountain stage we've got is on stage 8. And that's going to be, is it stage 8? Yeah, I think it's stage 8. And that's going to be the volcano. So it's going to be pretty tough, even tougher than this one. Yes, thanks, Evan. We'll see you next week. I mean, look at the wattage that this fellow is putting out. 3.84. I mean, they're giving it everything towards the end. You can't ask anything more than that. This is just phenomenal. I am so impressed with the racing tonight. All the riders have given it everything. They really have. I mean, just, yeah. This has been the best race by far, in my opinion. Purely and simply because not only has it been close, but the effort that people have put in to try, you know, like Chris has obviously had to work really hard to drop Luke. And just the effort that the guys are still putting in. Fantastic to see. At this point in the race, when, you know, you could be forgiven for just easing up because you're not racing anybody now, really. You know, but look, it's 3.5 what kilos putting out. Just, I have so much admiration when riders do this instead of just sitting back and, you know, easing into the finish. Well done, Chris. And there's Luke, my teammate. And this has been a tough course, folks. I think we've probably put a couple of riders off taking part tonight because it was such a tough climb. And hopefully those riders that have missed out will join us, you know, next week. I think it's a rolling course next week. I'm sorry, Chris. Yes, there are more hills there. I think your next course is pretty good, though. It's a rolling course. Don't think it's too difficult. Next week. Yeah. Yes, Fernando, I understand where you're coming from, mate. So did I when I did this climb. Okay, so Luke's coming to the finish. Good ride, sir. Well done. There we go. Another banner. And there's Ivo. So 700 meters for Ivo. And 11, look, 11.4. It's just, that's just so cool. Oh, well, yeah. So I'm just telling them that this is the easiest of the two mountains. So Ivo's got that nasty little kicker, and then he'll be home. Good ride, sir. And then we've got Mike to come on in. Keep it going. So this is the small little section where it just eases slightly as you're going around this bend, and then it kicks. There's that horrible little kicker. There you go. Yeah, there's the 11%. See what I mean? It's just, I mean, that must really, really hurt. My heart goes out to the riders. That is tough. You don't often see 11% within 30 meters of the finish of a ride. So fantastic effort, Ivo. Well done, sir. Now, normally, folks, I would pull up the leaderboard. Yes, the leaderboard live, but we've watched everybody coming in, and I don't think there's any need to do that. So when Mike's crossed the finish line, we're going to say thanks and close down the broadcast because it's been a long night. But thanks everybody for watching. And for those that catch us later, that watch it later, please hit the like button. And if you're not a subscriber, subscribe to the channel because there's lots more content coming as long as I'm getting some feedback. So like and subscribe, please. Show a bit of support because I put a lot of work into these rides. Okay, thanks everybody. Thank you, Mike, for hanging in there. Great ride, sir. Okay, we're going to switch to the end screen then now. There we go. So as I say, folks, hit the like button, subscribe please if you're not a subscriber, and we'll see you in the next one. I'll be recording Kate on the TABR tomorrow, so back to my regular gig. Take care everybody, stay safe, and we'll catch you in the next one.